What role can a film festival like this one play here on the African continent?
I think that first of all, the festival can introduce cinema to the local viewers. From what I know, they really don't have a very well developed system of exploitation. They don't have this network of art house. And then one of the few chances they have to watch anything else but mainstream cinema comes through this festival. At the same time, because the festival has this capacity of bringing so many guests, it's a good promotion for cinema in general. And I think it gives more and more local filmmakers this desire to express themselves. So it's this way of promoting the world cinema locally, and the other thing is that it's stimulating for the local cinema to exist and to be presented to these foreign guests. So it's this exchange, which is generally the role of festivals, especially in territories where there's little distribution.
Now to your film. It deals, I believe, with an issue that's very close to your heart. Can you tell us more about it, please?
Well, it addresses an issue which is close to all of us, because I used to say that this is a film for parents and children. So it addresses this issue of what is the best discourse you can have for children nowadays in this world in which we live. And it also speaks about a lot of other things for me. It speaks about aging. It speaks about this relationship between compromise as a personal choice and corruption which is present in society. But I'm always much more interested about this, I don't know, personal choices that you might have as an individual. And it speaks about truth and about lies and about what happens to your life if you let too many lies inside. And finally it speaks about selfishness and about how we manage always in society nowadays to find individual solutions, but we're never capable to find a collective solution that would save us all.
So your main character in your film is prepared to justify the means by the end. He wants to give what he believes is a better future to his daughter. So he wants her to leave the country. Is that a solution in today's Romania?
This is always perceived as an individual solution. People imagine that whenever you lose hope that you can change something like radically in your society, the only solution is to just leave. Of course, it's not a solution for the society, this is what I meant, because if you keep encouraging, especially this young, educated generation to live and to look for happiness, actually, abroad, you have very little chances, and it's not very rational to imagine that that society will change, because that society needs these people. At the same time, this film comes from just noticing this kind of disappointment which is present in society in general and in our society in particular, coming especially from the expectations that we had. I think we had maybe too big expectations given this short period, because there is a progress in the country, of course, and maybe it's a significant progress given this 26 years. Finally, what's 26 years for the development of a country? It's nothing much, but for you as a person, it's a lot. So people of my generation who just stayed there trying to change something are now facing this choice. So will you encourage your children to keep on doing the same thing without knowing that if they might see this change during, I don't know, their lives, or maybe not, as it was the case with you, or you will just let them decide? Or will you encourage them to leave, as it happens here? But I screened the film in a lot of countries, and my feeling is that the film doesn't only speak about the situation in my home country. The film speaks about this kind of compromise that people let into their lives very often. And it speaks about this kind of frustration that people feel in societies which are not entirely based on merit. Actually, this is where the frustration is coming from. Because you understand that neither you nor your children will be able to develop their future only based on, you know, their will and what they can do. There is always something else, and this brings this sort of frustration with, I don't know, the solutions that people imagine. Because finally, I think that we're always having this romantic view about the Western world, because we grew up in communism, and It was completely forbidden about, you know, it's like the Eden of good things, and it still stayed like this for us, even if now people start, you know, getting a little bit more information.
What hopes do you hold for Romania? And as you said, your scope is more global.
Well, what hopes? Well, I hope that people will be reasonable to start with, because if we look a little bit what happens today, they don't seem to be reasonable, and all the hopes are always connected with somehow trying to improve education, because education can maybe help you to be a bit more rational and a bit more informed. I think that we are now a lot the victims of education which can't really manage to make us prepared for this kind of future. We are bombarded with all this kind of, I don't know, information, we believe, and it became difficult to distinguish the truth from all the lies. And you know, this is the starting point for a lot of bad things. So I'm always insisting that if we want to do something and if we want to improve something for us, but rather for the children, we need to focus on their education. And this is one of the things that the film also speaks about. This need of just being coherent with the education you give to children, and of just having one discourse. Because sometimes, you know, people can have this very beautiful, morally shaped discourse for children, but they don't apply it for them as adults, which is a problem, because children, as you know, are not educated by what you tell them, but by what they see at the same time and what they understand. So everything starts with acknowledging the truth about yourself.
Yes, so it's all about do what I say, don't do what I do. Your character starts out as a very moral person, and in the end he proves he's no better than anyone else. Is that right?
I think he is like, as people are. The whole point, you know, we speak also always a lot about subject in cinema, but if we speak about cinema in general, I think that, you know, cinema is this way of understanding a little bit better the complexity of the world which is around you. So he can't be, as a character, better or worse than the people that I see and I meet. And he has all the good intentions in the world, as very many parents have, trying to help their children, not understanding that maybe they would just project their unfulfilled dreams on their children, trying to help them fulfill this thing which doesn't belong to them, instead of just, I don't know, being attentive to their children, see what they need. But this is how people are. And the film speaks about this moment in your life when you get to this age, when you're looking back and you're analyzing a little bit the decisions that you made and the choices that you had in your life, and you see that there were some good things and some bad things. And you can't really change much at this age. It's the portrait of this moment. So all people hope in that moment is that this experience will help the next generation, which is partly true, because, you know, people need to make their own mistakes. You can't pass just wisdom to the next generation just like this and have it. It will be helpful. It's not like this. You didn't get it like this from your parents. But everything is mixed in life, so this is the kind of cinema that I'm trying to do, hoping something at the end that people will have this comfort of watching this story in cinemas. I think it's a great comfort to stay in the dark. You are anonymous, you watch the story, but eventually, hopefully after you exit the theater, you will realize that the film speaks about you and about your problems and about the questions that you need to ask yourself. And I think it's wonderful when cinema manages to do something like this.
Is there an autobiographical element to your films?
Oh, there's also something personal in my films. I wouldn't say autobiographical, but personal in a way. But I'm not sure if there is something more personal in this one that it was in my previous films, where I was having women as main characters. I don't think in these terms of women and men. People ask me I don't think in genre or in gender. I think in, I don't know. I think about the story and I think about the characters, and I think that if you understand human nature, you can speak about people. And I'm not, you know, making this, I don't know, I like the distinction. I like to think about the story, and I like to think about, you know, to speak about something that I think it's important in this moment, both for me, for people of my generation, and for society in general. I think a lot before passing to some other topic.
So can you tell us a bit about your current projects?
The film is released in a lot of countries, so for the moment I am still traveling to speak about this film, to introduce this film to audiences in a lot of countries. I am now here at the end of a very long tour in which I think I visited some 7 countries in a row, but I have a few more in front of me. Sometimes it's important to do this because we are in this moment in cinema where the popularity of this kind of cinema dropped, and mainstream cinema became very, very popular in a lot of places. So it became difficult to preserve what I think is the most important thing in cinema, which is diversity. It's important to preserve some diversity, because if not, if this trend keeps on going with this speed, 20 years from now we'll just have this formatted genre films and nothing much else. And I don't think cinema was invented for this, so I work for this for the moment, and hopefully early January or February, the latest, I will be able to continue this project that I started writing before this film that I did.
Can you tell us what it's about?
No.
No. Okay. Too bad. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a
It
lot.
was wonderful meeting you.
Thank you.